Hey team, how's it going? Welcome in, welcome back, and welcome to a very special kind of like pre-release review edition of our stream today, where the amazing folks over at amazing folks over at Steamforge, this is what happens when companies have a lot of S's, have sent me over a copy of Strange Light Workshop, as well as the Spectronomicon that comes with as part of their upcoming release for their Iron Kingdom setting, their new books for the Iron Kingdom setting, which are 5e compatible for you D&D nerds out there, which I know most of you are. We'll get to that in a sec, as well as all the cool stuff that's coming with. But before I hop into that, how are you guys doing? Hello, hello. Over to Nodster, Blendini, and your Budank over in YouTube saying hi. We also have Nodster saying spoilers. If you don't want, it's not a spoiler, it's more like a little brief review, a glimpse, a taste. If you want, you can use !strange at any point in the chat as well to get a little bit of a glimpse at some of the cool stuff they're doing, including an ARG, that if you hop between a couple other videos with influencers in the space, you might get some hints, and there might be a hint on screen right now as to a little something that the agency needs your help with. In the meantime, thank you so much to everyone who subscribed as well. Oh my god, we had some hydrates. Yeah, I could do that. Cheers to you guys. Thanks for the hydration. And Sakai over in YouTube says hello. Hi! Sculptor is here. We also had Sculptor who resubbed for 6 months. Welcome back. Frank, I believe is how you pronounce it. Welcome in for the first time. Thanks for saying hi. And Taylor's also here, having subscribed with Prime. Thank you so much. But let me get some info to you guys. So this is all very new to me. This is very much a blind review, a blind like dive into things. Before we get into it, I will say this is my last trio of streams before I leave for Australia as well, which is going to make things a little bit difficult. I might stream a little bit while I'm down there, but it is incredibly difficult to do so from anywhere that's not like the incredibly intricate setup you're seeing in front of you. It's very difficult to stream on. I might still do so from Maddie's setup, whatever she has. Fletcher guy says I'm going to that panel. Oh my god, perfect. Hell yeah. In that case, I will see you there. I had a couple of people asking about a meet and greet as well. I do have one. I just got confirmed for one, I believe, on Saturday. And that is a separate day, different from the panels I'm on. So I will be there all the days though. And if you guys can't catch me at the specific meet and greet on Saturday, I will still be there. Here we are. Sorry, I'm still working on getting set up on TikTok. It's been a wild Monday. But I'll still be around on all days of the con, and you can come up and say hi and ask me for signatures and things like that. Aishi says, how was the DM the other day? It was solid. It's a chaotic group, but like in the best way, where they warned me so many times that they would go completely off the rails on things, and I went in expecting it. I was full on prepping so much stuff in town and whatnot, and in the end, they actually stuck to the story really well, and they were like, yeah, Diana, you herded us, and I was like, I guess it just made it interesting. That's what I'm hoping happened. Otherwise, they might have just been indulging me. Either way, hello, thank you so much to Drodane for the 5 gifted subs. We also had your Budank, who resubbed with Prime, saying last week to catch Diana before she starts talking with an Australian accent. You know, if I start talking with an Australian accent, my roleplay is about to get so much more pretentious. I'm about to be such a good DM, you guys. But Drode, thank you so much for the gifted subs. We also had Dethan who subbed. And then, let me see something strange. I gotta get up on TikTok before I hop into things proper and do a little review. Hi, Junigma. Hello, hello. Happy June to you as well. Yeah, welcome, you guys. So, Sculptor says Straya. Yeah, Aussie, Australia. I'm gonna be hopping around a little bit on the East Coast. The last time I went to Australia was back on the West Coast, which was a wild thing to have to do, by the way. Like moving through and doing a like 15-hour flight from LA to Australia and then immediately going another 4 hours to the opposite side of Australia is a lot of flying. There was a lot of flying going on. That being said, let's hop into it. Let me get you guys some info here real fast before so I can actually let you know. That filter guy says Aussie, not Aussie, and then you'll fit in. Oh, good solid lesson. And let's see. Ajax says, I told you to breathe, but I got trapped in boost. I can absolutely breathe. It's mostly because I talk really fast, so it's hard for me to, if you guys have any other Australian tips, let me know. We got a week of streaming before I hop over there. It's going to be 3 days this week, so I'm streaming all 3 days if nothing goes horribly wrong, and then next week is when we start in with it, proper. Bubble Bath Pie in the Face is also here. How's it going? Welcome in, and then, yeah, I think that's all the, like, main announcements. Let me see here real fast. Yeah, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna type one thing in chat real fast because you guys have actually been given a special little link if you wanted to go through and check out Strange Light for yourself. Let me pin message for you so you guys can see it at all times while we go through the review. This won't be the whole stream, but I'm gonna go through and spend at least like a solid couple of minutes on it to give you guys a glimpse and also give myself a glimpse. This is my first genuine, honest review looking at it. This isn't a paid promotion. I'm not being paid to talk about it, so I don't have to necessarily be nice, but I am also just a nice person, and it is really cool. Let's see. Also, Hanny says, if you bring sunscreen to Australia, throw it away and get the Australian sunscreen. Yeah, I've heard your guys' sun is, like, different down there. Oh, Miriak also says I have to lead a biological monitoring thing on Wednesday. How well will I do? Or will I mess everything up and make myself look really bad? What is a biological monitoring? Is that like a sleep study sort of thing? Where they make it so that you have to, like, get hooked up to monitors? I don't think you can mess it up intentionally, right? Also, Sir Johnny, thank you so much for the subscription. Hello. But yeah, let's roll a D100 for you. Speaking of tabletop games and the like, my camera's been acting up a little bit, by the way. It's not auto-focusing anymore unless I manually focus first. Immediately dropping it also isn't a very good look, but let's do a quick roll for you. Miriak, that is 47. This thing really, oh, hey, and DBSU said bestow advantage. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, we can do that. Vito says, a new TTRPG, that's always exciting. Always down to try something new. Yeah, so it's 5e compatible, so you won't have to learn anything crazy, but it is based off of some existing lore, which is new to me. It's called the Iron Kingdom TTRPG, or the Iron Kingdom like campaign setting that is apparently award-winning, and Steamforged has gotten, basically acquired the rights to be able to produce new books for it and such, which is where this comes in. And also, looks like we got a bit of a boost there. That is 61, Miriak, with your advantage, which, you know, pretty solid. Again, this thing is like, it continues going off of basic, like middle of the road numbers. So it's not super reliable, but advantage is advantage. Miriak says they'll take 61. Heck yeah. Also, your butt Dank redeemed a bardic inspiration for the first time. Ooh, I did not say, was it a D10? I can't remember what the bardic inspo is, but here we are, we're gonna use the special D10, the gem cut D10. Here we go. It has an actual name, but I forget what the actual name is. It's got some nice little facets on it, which I quite like. It makes it look like it's shining like a diamond. Let's do that inspo real fast. And that is a 5, which brings us up from 61 to 60, I can do math, 66. Not bad. My Odra says, ooh, prism. Yeah, the fancy prism. Palpatine Spitz says, I've been debating on getting a haircut while there's still fair weather or letting it grow out so they can cover my neck in the winter since I'm planning on working outside. I don't think hair gives you as much heat protection as you think. At least, maybe I just have thinner hair, but not for me. Maybe. I would also just recommend a scarf, you know, do whatever makes you happy, and bear in mind that you might be working outside a lot, but you're not gonna be outside all the time. But yeah. Let's see, Sarge says, I'm gonna be getting this and putting it in the queue of TTRPGs to play. Next is either Daggerheart or Candela Obscura. Yeah, so Candela was the first thing that came to mind when I was looking at it, right? Strange Light Workshop is, actually, let me show you guys the actual, like, media related to it, because I can only do so much when I'm sharing, like, it on camera with you guys. If you wanted to, you can use !strange to check out the challenge that they have for you all, or you can just use the link that's pinned in chat right now to head to this site yourself. But it's very much an occult horror type supplement that the way it's described seems a lot less you're gonna die than other occult horror TTRPGs. Because when you think of occult horror, you think of Call of Cthulhu, you think of Candela Obscura, and a lot of that is, hey, if you try and go up directly against this thing and try and fistfight it, you will not do well. Like, your character will suffer consequences and you will suffer side effects and it won't work. Whereas this seems like a lot more, there are still like procedures that you go through and little things that you do. There's information that you collect on what exactly you're hunting down, but it still has a stab block. You know, if it bleeds, it can die. So, Palpatine's Best says Arkham Horror. Indeed. So this is currently on pre-order. I wasn't allowed to talk about it for the longest time until I think September 5th. Also, Burrito Whisper, welcome in. Hi. And Blendini wants me to roll a d20 saying I have culinary school final coming up tomorrow, so I need to know if I'll do well or not. Ooh, yeah. Let me roll that for you real fast. The d20 that I'm using is similarly, I'm gonna fix this camera, I promise. There we go. It's similarly a gem cut d20. Don't look at my nails. I've been digging and fixing my plants all day, so they're covered in dirt. But we'll give this a quick roll. We also have an advantage from DBCU saying we love food here. Honestly, if I hadn't been a zoology major and I hadn't gone into food science, I would have gone into culinary school just because it seems so cool. Also, Palpatine Smith says we have a second advantage. The advantages don't stack, but we do have, that would cancel out a disadvantage if we had one. Your Bud Dank also has another bardic inspo. So let's roll a d20 twice. The first one was a 5, second one was a 19. And then with a bardic inspo of a d10 using the same set of dice, that is a 2. So we scraped by with a 21. Not bad. Duke says Diana's a necromancer confirmed. Yeah, in Celebration I decorated the space a little bit. You can see the torchlight on the raise the what are they called? Yeah, they are razor, aren't they? The razor lights in the background. There's a couple bats around. There's some secret messages hidden around. Your Bud Dag says if you do well, we need pics in the food channel in the Discord. Do please. I actually unironically love that sort of stuff. Lukic also suggested a poll for us, so you guys can vote on that once a mod gets it up. Solo Studio says you're going to Australia. Lucky. Yeah, I'm excited. I have so much work to get done before I go, but I'm hyped for it. Anyway, like I said, it's all 5e compatible, so it's, from what I'm seeing as I flip through, it's still got stat blocks, and it's not got that sort of thing where you have to do a bunch of work converting some random monster into a 5e stat block. Again, if it bleeds, it can die. It has the exact same layout that you're used to, and beyond that, it also comes with a ton of information about the actual creature itself in a very Call of Cthulhu style, where they give you newspaper clippings, known lore, descriptions of the creatures, and it's not just, hey, here's a stat block, figure out the rest yourself. Oh, there's been another hydrate. I could do that. There's also like notes in the margins being written by other investigators, and that is your role in this game, is you are investigating as part of an agency. And you and your team are exploring, according to this site, all manner of paranormal case files, from the rationally explicable to the downright bizarre. Again, this comes with the Iron Kingdoms RPG setting. I do kind of want to look at this one a little bit. Let's take a gander, because this concept is new to me. A fantasy role-playing game published by Privateer. Ooh, there we go. Published by Privateer Press ages ago for a D20 system, and then it switched into something a little bit more custom. Privateer Press successfully kickstarted a new version based on Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Yeah, that's us! And then, let's see. So it looks like it comes with its own races, its own species. So it's like properly something you could, in theory, since they still have dwarves and elves and things like that, you could drag and drop it into your existing campaign setting if you don't want to do it entirely like as a custom setting. And then the other books that have already been published by Steamforged are all listed here. So you have, I'm not gonna go into these because I don't have them, and it's, you know, but if you wanted to, you could look at it yourself. They have a Monsternomicon, the Monsternomicon Lost Pages. It's a lot more of a modern setting, right? So if you're like, I still like fantasy, I still like the fantastical concepts of a world and the not it just straight up being, you know, 1960s USA or whatever, and you want magic to be involved and the supernatural to be involved and still plausible and fit in well and meet you in the middle with regards to your love for fantasy, this seems like a really solid onboarding point. The book itself, at first glance, also really pretty. This is a very gorgeous set of art. I really like it. The entirety of the book from the inside throughout has helper text. I will say the font itself isn't the easiest to read because a lot of it is like that the typewriter font, but at the same time, the distribution of like little bits and pieces here and there, tables that look to be on a different background, you know, little photographs that are paper clipped on, right? It's very easy to like kind of navigate through this book, which that's not something that a lot of reviewers talk about, is the layout of a book itself being incredibly important, especially, you know, just the little immersion details, like the fact that it says, hey, on these pages specifically, hold on. The fact that it says do not staple at the top of some of these pages. That is the most, like, some of the most immersive, you didn't have to go that far and take that step with your game design, but you did and I love it sort of thing I've ever seen from a book. Joey says hello from Australia. Hey Joey, welcome in. And Vito says it sounds like a Supernatural style game I've been waiting for something like this. I'm sold. Yeah, let's go through the book itself as well, because I know especially when it comes to 5e, a lot of people are seeking new classes and new subclasses. Am I slightly fuzzy? There we go. Lord Drunken Badger, hello, hello. Uncreative says serif font. Yeah, I believe so. Whatever comes from a typewriter, right? I still like it. Again, immersion is my big thing. But, oh, okay, the introduction. After you get past that, chapter 1 comes with a history of the Iron Kingdoms. So you don't have to know anything about the Iron Kingdoms going in. Thank God. Again, I didn't know much about it, but it looks like, yeah, an unforgettable adventure in a world where technology and magic collide. So again, that middle ground. But it gives you information about, you know, brief history, the different areas, life in the Iron Kingdoms, nation of the Iron Kingdoms, and then what the Strange Light Workshop actually is. The Strange Light Workshop being on page 66. Let's take a look here, chat. Watch me flip pages for a second, chat. There we go. Yeah, the Strange Light Workshop is a private institute that investigates and resolves incidents of occult phenomenon. Most often, the services of the Strange Light Workshop are contracted for a price, but the organization sometimes conducts its own investigations and may do pro bono work if there's a high chance of getting rare information of interest. There it talks about the founder. It gives you a whole timeline of the workshop, with a copy stain and everything, of the workshop's existence and the fact that it, like, you know, the founder, when they were born and all that. It says where it's mostly active, how it was founded. Oh, cool. It gives you all the lore you need. This is solid. This is solid work. Again, it's not something that's so buried into the world too that you can't reflavor it and drop it into your existing D&D game if you want to, especially if you have certain nations that are more technologically advanced than the others and you want to have, like, firearms, for example, which could be, you know, if you have a gunslinger in your game, they might enjoy this sort of thing as well. Anyone who wants more supernatural stuff, because D&D categorically does not do horror well. So, the core book also has a couple of different information about organizations, so you have different factions to work with. There's also new feats, so you can have feats such as... Oh, you have essences! Hold on. Characters' natural aptitudes determine as much about their abilities as the parents they were born to and the places they grew up in. So, you have additional optional rules for basically, like, your essence and what type of person you are, and that can unlock new feats for you, which is pretty solid. Let's see. Uncreative says serif font is like any little font with little wings on each letter. Yeah, it's like it's a typewriter serif. I don't know exactly what I could Google it. But it's like serif is one term, and then sans serif is quite literally just like the other one. Yeah, John Carroll says, I've definitely not bought books before because of layout. If it's just walls and walls of text, I tend to not be a super big fan, but if they adequately break it up with decent art and, like, it's part of the immersion like this, I love that sort of stuff. Serenity, hi! Serenity Teacup, everyone say hello, saying books, I was summoned. Yeah, so we're checking out some early copies of Strange Light Workshop. The lovely people at Steamforge gifted us the main book and then the Spectronomicon. It's 5e, but if you mix fantasy and technology, and then also make it so that you're part of an occult investigation unit that is set in the Iron Kingdom setting. Yeah, it's exciting. They have their own species, of course, so their own ancestries where you can be a gobber instead of a goblin or their equivalent. And it also talks about not just, like, what that species does within the context of the world, but also within the context of the Strange Light Workshop. Like, if you're one of these player characters and also you work within the Strange Light Workshop and you're one of the agents, it tells you what, you know, your typical role is and what your typical role takes on. It represents an opportunity for gobbers to earn a more generous wage than many of their fellow compatriots who usually have to settle for lower paying jobs elsewhere. It talks about, like, the variants on elves and orcs and things like that. Trollkin is an option. So there's a bunch of species options as well. And of course, because it's D&D and a D&D compatible supplement, they also have their own species. So, Serity says, I need this game. Oh my gosh. It's really cool so far. I really like it. Yeah, John Carroll says the serif is the little tag on the end of the curves of the S. Got it. And Sereni says, what I'm hearing is I need a one-shot with you for real. It's absolutely getting added to my collection. It's also would make such a good like Halloween one-shot, or even a Halloween campaign, because the thing I love about investigative type campaigns is it's so easy to do a chain of one-shots where you go in, you take up a portfolio or a dossier or a case file, you solve the mystery, do the investigating, figure out what you're up against, figure out how to take care of it, get after it, complete the mission, come back to headquarters. It's perfect for Wes Marches style games, and I am always like constantly on the lookout for Wes Marches style games. But yeah, let's see. Vito says art and lore is a huge part of the immersion. Yeah, and it sounds like they have a decent amount of lore to go off of as well already, which is quite nice. And Numel says, I'm thinking of selling. Oh my God, I'm thinking of selling my old theremin. I haven't touched it in years. Wait, is that an actual statement or a joke? Because either way it works. And let's see, there is another hydrate as well. And Lady Breezy Bree, welcome in. Hi. Akoto, thank you for the sub as well. And Sereni says, I've been working on a cutesy fairground mystery cozy D&D one-shot, but it's definitely hard to take a one-shot when you've barely played. I think it's more about the story, honestly. And then just like, Numel says it is a joke. That is a very good joke. I love that. That's a new one. Ugh, I like that. 10 out of 10. But yeah, I don't think it's as difficult as you need. It really is just finding the right stat blocks and slotting it into a story that really isn't, I don't know, I wouldn't focus on the system, you know? And I would kind of focus on just writing it down, getting the story out on paper, getting the major story beats, and then working out how you're gonna deal with like the stats and stuff later on, or even just improvise it if you have that capability. Drunken Badger's heading off to work. Have a good night, Badger. And Duke says, nearly did Wes Marches for my upcoming campaign. Instead, I'm going for a classic format with Wes Marches style guest players dipping in. Yeah, I love that sort of stuff. Anyway, I was saying that they have their own classes as well. It looks like, we're gonna go through them here, Arcanist, which is a practitioner of magic who uses arcane formulae to create powerful spells. So it's like magic, but a little bit more modernized and more, almost like a cross between a wizard and a warlock, where it's like a little bit like you're dipping into the dark side, but in a cool way. You use intelligence as your basic ability as well. There's also a bouncer, who's a physical combatant who helps protect the team against mundane physical threats. There's a caller, a sensitive soul with the ability to draw out and communicate with spirits. Oh, I kind of like that. Their strength is charisma. So you're kind of just like speaking to spirit. That would be so good for an investigator too. That's kind of like the witchy gal in the back of the group. Sereni, have a good night. And then let's see, Ajax is also heading off. Have a good one. Investigator says a quick thinking inspector who collects and analyzes data, so that's an intelligence-based class, uses a D8 as its hit die. A jammer, who's a grappler who uses special equipment to fight supernatural entities and protect the team against supernatural threats. Okay, so very like protective force. You get access to a bunch of different firearms, charged gauntlets as well. And then the last one is a strange light mechanic spelled with a K, who specializes in dealing with the temperamental prototypes of the Strange Light workshop. So that's kind of like your more modernized Artificer vibe. I think it's what Artificer probably should have been. But it gives you all of the same stuff that you would normally use for building a character. So the Arcanist has its own subclasses called Cabals. There are the Bouncers, who have their own subclasses known as Archetypes. The Callers, the ones who communicate with the dead, have archetypes as well, including one, oh my god, what the hell is this? Aura of Oblivion? As a caller, starting at 15th level, your connection to the spiritual realm now makes creatures, if you're a medium, makes creatures uncomfortable and makes it harder for creatures to heal themselves. So each living creature of your choice within 10 feet of you, constantly, just as an aura, has a disadvantage on charisma checks and saving throws, and a living creature other than yourself or your allies cannot regain hit points that you choose. Oh man, that's cool. I like that. Also, Pumpkins, hey, welcome in. And Cash Cow, hello. We're kind of going through some new third-party subclasses that are coming out soon. Investigator is very much like your typical intelligence-based investigator class. Your archetypes are, let's see, a forensic examiner, a Luma-type specialist, a spiritual analyst. So you can still have a supernatural like twist on it and you're not locked into just the physical investigation side of things. There's also Jammer, which is very much like a pugilist style like grappler, it says. The archetypes are protector, resolute, rowdy. The rowdy 18th level ability is called I Can Do This All Day. You refuse to give up, even when beaten to your absolute limit. If you have fewer hit points in your pool than your maximum amount at the start of your turn, you can expend one or more of your hit dice and add your constitution modifier to the results, and then gain points to equal... Oh my god, gain points to your resolve pool equal to the total? I don't know what resolve pool is, but I like it. And then the last one is the Strange Light Mechanic, who is, a nuts and bolts sort of person. And the archetypes there are Field Engineer, Jury Rigger, who creates on-the-fly repairs and improvised enhancements, a Quartermaster, who is a master of strange light equipment that, usually people report to back at the base, so that would make an amazing NPC, or also just someone who's stepping out from behind the desk for the first time. Yeah, I love that. There's also a bunch of backgrounds, so you could be an academic, you could be a folklorist, grave touched, which is cool, a hoaxer, an occultist. So this is very much like, hey, you want to be an occult investigator in D&D and not have it be a complete, wild turn away from what D&D was originally built for? This will do it for you. I'm loving this so far. We also have the super Spectronomicon, which is the bestiary for the Strange Light Workshop supplement. And it's very much written out the same way that, a monster dossier would be. They all have these... Here we are. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. They have these designators at the top. They all have gorgeous artwork. And then, of course, they have the actual, stat block itself, as well as discovery. Very SCP style, where it says, hey, this is how we found out about this thing in the first place. A description, so you don't have to make it up. Known information about it, and then also variants. So there's something called a slaughterhouse, for example, which has its own threat evaluation. It tells you whether or not you should study it or kill it if you find one, or if you should catch it, or if you should just release it. And then, let's see. The description for a slaughterhouse says it's a house haunted by gremlins that the little bastards somehow uplift to become a creature. This is why I argue that these things should be sorted with X-class entities. And the procedure is to avoid entering the vicinity of a slaughterhouse without significant backup. Consider filing for special for a site inspection with the local judiciary as soon as possible. It also has the normal stat block, but then the other slaughterhouses variant, which means that you can, oh my god, what is called a gremlin mosh pit. The slaughterhouse is infested with violent gremlins engaged in a raucous, infectious brawl. Any non-Grimkin creature that starts its turn within 30 feet must make a charisma saving throw, and if they fail, you have to move it forces you to join a mosh pit. Oh my gosh. You have to attack another non-Grimkin creature if you can, and move up to it if you can. That's cool. Of course, there's a bunch of different things that, here we are. This one's cool. That vary in scale and intensity. And I just really like the concept of the workshop telling you whether to catch it, kill it, study it, or release it upon finding it. So, especially because then that kind of brings into question what a morality system within the Strange Light Workshop's, ranks would be. And if you continue to defy orders, if you're that kind of agent, how is that going to affect the campaign as you continue on? So, super cool. Let's see. Yeah, Matthew Bush says, I saw a great piece of advice where for the first 5 levels, you don't need a fleshed out character arc, just some cool jobs. Yeah, it's just what have you done in the past that made you pick up a pitchfork and wield it with a slightly different grip to use it as a weapon as opposed to a tool for the first time? It could be a very small story. If you have a folk hero background, I'd say that's really the only one that you really need, an existing, intense story for. But beyond that, a job is pretty much all the ones that are in here, and they're really solid. One of them is, let me find it. I saw one that caught my eye. The folklorist. There we go. You may have grown up in a small village at the edges of civilization, or were simply a trader or a traveler passing through, but still, you witnessed the supernatural forces at work that lurked within the wilderness. Despite their pretense of worship to Moro or Menoth, the locals harbored darker beliefs, and it was through luck, grit, and determination that you escaped foul harvest that the locals brought as they offered up sacrifices to the ancient spirit of the lands. So, you're basically an expert in local folklores. You escaped your hometown, and that's a solid starting point in and of itself. It gives you so many tools to work off of. What hometown, or what town were you passing through, whose harvest you escaped, what was your relationship to the people in there like? Would you go back? What were they worshiping? You know, what exactly is your relationship to that thing that they were worshiping, and what do you do with your knowledge now that you have it? Newberg, welcome in. Same with Algorithm and Crawlfinger. Hello. And Duke says, seems like a premise where you could give the players bestiary access and let them spend a bonus action to look it up, then have fights need more info to exploit weaknesses, etc. Yeah, so I think that would fit in really well with what people have always imagined an investigator class to be, and they've finally, like, these guys have finally done it and created one that seems to be, you know, obviously intelligence-based, but hopefully gives you a solid amount of actual, you know, classified info on the creature. And especially being the fact that every single monster in here appears to have art, that alone makes it so nice on me as a GM, not having to look it up separately and be like, okay, this is what it looks like. Because at least in the old monster manual, there were a lot of creatures in there that just didn't have any descriptions or any art, and that always kind of bothered me as a person who loves lore, personally. So anyway, I think that kind of wraps up our initial review. Thank you so much to the folks over at the folks over at Steamforge, who are working in the realm of Strangelight, for sending this along and giving me a quick sneak peek, a little bit of a glimpse. Again, if you guys happen to look at other people's videos and other people's reviews, !strange in chat will give you a link that may or may not take you somewhere a little bit special, that you might need some hidden things to help out with, some hidden letters, a little bit of an ARG for you. But in the meantime, that's a quick and dirty, honest review. Jayok says, the investigator class is one of my favorite things about Pathfinder. Yeah, I feel like it's about time that someone made something like this for D&D, because as much as people are like, oh, you know, just play a different game, that's fine. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get people together for a game, let alone making them learn what a new system is? So you could retrofit Candela, you could work off of Call of Cthulhu, but they all have such different vibes. You know, Call of Cthulhu is incredibly lethal. It's very much like a, hey, you're wandering into this area where something bad is happening, you better wander out again, you better survive it, and that's really it. Candela is very cool, but it has its own setting and its own rules that not everyone's willing to learn. This seems a lot more approachable, a lot more you can actually fight it, especially because D&D is so combat focused that I think it scratches that itch for people in a way that, at least in my experience, other games haven't yet. So, but yeah, Pumpkin says, I'm new to TTRPGs and currently learning about D&D. Nice, heck yeah. And let's see. Oh, Drodane wants us to roll a D20, saying, checking we're selling my house. No pressure. Ooh, yeah. Let me take a look. There is also, oh my gosh, this camera. There we go. There is also a advantage from Myodra saying, ooh, let me help with that. Yeah, I mean, how is the housing market in your area? Is it doing better? Because I know in my area it's a little bit less pressure, a little bit more relieved by apartment complexes and things like that coming up. First one is a 14, and then with the advantage, now that's a 2. So we're going with the 14th. And then Uncreative gifted a Bardic Inspiration once again. She says a market crash. Was there a crash that I missed out on? Did I miss a crash? Again? I feel like every time I wake up, something happens. But here's the D10 for you. Adding that in, it's only a 1. So, +1 overall. Could be worse. Could be worse. Oh, wait, she says it was a joke. Okay, I was like, did I miss it? Oh, man. But yeah, let's see. Unknown over on YouTube also says, sup, fellow humans. Hello. And Krayak says, it's not like it crashed like 2008, but it ain't good. Oh, great. How many economic downturns can I survive through in my life? What is happening? Either way. All right, well, now that we've done our little review and our God, I actually do kind of want to get into this now. Let me see how I know I said I was already done with this review, but hold on, because I kind of want to see what the adventures are like. They have a whole section on equipment, and they have a whole section on new magic. Oh man, I didn't get into this. There's runes and formulae that you can use. Benign necromancy. Oh my god. Research and development that you can do. Oh, yeah. Your company's prestige, so your groups, essentially, your company within Strangelight, your prestige increases when you confront the supernatural through acts such as the following, like protecting a civilian from death, surviving an encounter with a paranormal activity without a member of the company becoming incapacitated. So it's like achievements almost, and as you reach these achievements, you get more, I guess, like renown within your field. There's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 3 is like you're a veteran survivor. Tier 4, you're legendary. So it's exactly that sort of like, I guess the same sort of renown thing that I was going on about. Also, the World Wildlife Fund is here saying, wait, you're coming to Australia? Oh my gosh. Are you coming to Melbourne? Because if so, we'd love to invite you to the WWF Melbourne office. I would love to. Yeah, I'm going to be there around PAX Australia. That is like a perfect... Yeah, someone said that's a Diana perfect invite. That's amazing. Thank you. Oh, that's very sweet of you guys. Yeah, shoot me an email. It's dianaoftherosebusiness@gmail.com. I know I have you guys on Discord as well. Definitely feel free to Discord me. I'm in the server, but we've got your guys' charity stream later on this weekend, or later this week, right before we actually leave for Australia. So I'll be down there in Melbourne specifically, October 7th through 13th, I believe. Let me know. I'm happy to. That'd be amazing. But that's awesome. But yeah, guys, everyone say hi to the WWF. They're doing Go Live for Nature currently, actually. I almost said later this week. We're doing it on the channel later this week. But in general, last year, we were, I think, the number 2 donating stream across everyone who participated in this big push to Go Live for Nature. I ran into them at at TwitchCon. So hopefully I'll see you guys there as well. Yeah, we did some cool stuff. We raised an unexpectedly large amount of money, mostly because the World Wildlife Fund has my whole heart. So, yeah. Let's see. H says, congrats on beating WWE for the acronym. Also, Studio says, hey, Diana in chat. Hope everyone's having a great evening. We're doing good so far. Daydreamer also wants us to hydrate. I can do that. And Myodra says, go see the Werribee and the Melbourne Zoo. They're both amazing. What is a Werribee? This sounds like the beginning to a joke. Oh, man. Also, Martian Crossbow says, are you going to be at ARPIA? I am not. That sounds like an AARP-related convention. I'm afraid I have no knowledge of that. Is it also in Australia, though? Oh my gosh, and also WWF says, I mean, it's not a fun office with nature and animals, though, but I would love to meet you and give you some goodies. I'd be so down. Yeah, they're gonna message me on Discord. Perfect. I'll keep an eye out. My inbox there should be open. Also, hi, Necro Blues. Welcome in. Stay with Crow Doggy. Good to see you. Vito says hello to the WWF from YouTube. Crow Doggy says, oh wait, no, I read that. It's been a while. I hope everyone's good. We are doing good. I honestly kind of am feeling low-key inspired. Maybe it's like the Halloween vibes that I have going on. Did you guys see the cobwebs? By the way, I have cobwebs down here. I have bats up there. I have spooky like torchlight on the razor lights over there. And between that and all the spooky vibes from a paranormal 5e compatible supplement, I kind of want to run something in this now. I might bring it down to Australia if there's something that I could just kind of like throw in and make out to be, because I don't think I'm capable of running something like Call of Cthulhu. Eldritch Horror is so beyond my capabilities as a DM or even a player to grasp. And I know that's the whole point, but I just can't. I can't do it. It's not my thing. So something that's more like supernatural horror is 100% more my vibe. And I was gonna prep something for Dread, but it's really hard. And I also can't pack a Jenga tower with me. So I might go for something like this, because it has a lot of magic lore as well that I kind of want to dive into. Drodan says, I also like to claim the cobwebs in my house for Halloween decorations. No joke, the most high-density area of cobwebs in my apartment right now, fake or not, I'll let you decide, are on my weights. So they just showed up overnight, honestly. Duke says, I so dislike Eldritch Horror. Other horrors are great. Yeah, I don't get it. I get that that's the point, that it's like beyond comprehension and that it breaks, what should be our concept of reality, but I don't like that. I want my stuff to be anchored in a world. That's why I enjoy intense amounts of lore and a lot of world building. That's why I have a world building podcast, so. Let's see. Duke says horror within my comprehension is much scarier. Yeah, so I've done a couple workshops with regards to TTRPGs at PAX East and I believe West. No, it would have been PAX East and Gen Con, where I was working with the Storyteller Squad and talking about how to do horror effectively. And the best way, in my experience, to do horror that is genuinely viscerally terrifying is to make it human and have, in some ways, human interference in whatever's going on, whether or not it's supernatural, whether or not it's just a beast, but having humans that are on that thing's side, that are taking actions that you wouldn't expect a person of your morality to do and kind of diving into the moral grayness of it. Oh, HT says the spiders are getting gains. Let's see. Fushigi says that's the exact reason I only play Cult and Vampire the Masquerade. I've never played anything outside of those. Yeah, Cult is really intense. Cult is the sort of thing that is like the final boss of safety tools and making sure that you know exactly what you're doing. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things ever. I honestly want to run it, but it's hard to find a group for Cult. And I know people say it's hard to find a group for anything. Cult, they're being so real about it. Duke says a bit of body horror driven by a human is great. Yeah! Crow Doggy says, I'm an entire Eldritch Horror cult in my LARP. Or I'm in an Eldritch Horror cult in my LARP. It actually works really well. I feel like it'd be fun to be part of an Eldritch Horror cult. I don't think it'd be fun to have to like world build the cult, if that makes sense. In a TTRPG. To be abundantly clear, I'm talking about in a TTRPG where like you could just kind of throw whatever sacrifices or prayers or whatever you have at a wall and see what happens, and then just kind of draw lines as it makes sense to you. Yeah, so Yerbud Dank says, my understanding of Eldritch Horror isn't that you don't comprehend it, it's for that a brief moment you do. You understand something so much bigger than yourself and then are thrust back into your own reality with the knowledge that for a brief moment you were more. Like an ant understanding advanced engineering and then being forced back into the mindset of an ant. But how do you roleplay that though? That's my thing, is how do I make that experience happen for players? I can't, not easily. I can make, at least me personally, I'm talking about me explicitly as a GM, I know my limits. It's right there. That is the limit. That exact paragraph you just said states it so well. Yeah, I don't know. I can do things that I can describe, and that sort of stuff is, again, I'm not a smart person. I can barely comprehend what I comprehend. Having to go one step above that and be like, yeah, here's something incomprehensible that I'm going to describe for you. And I don't like the hand waviness of it being like, oh, you see, you know, your birth and your death at the same time over and over again, and every possible choice you could have made throughout your life, and then in a blink you're back into your normal body. I could do that, but that seems too hand wavy, you know. Let's see. Fushigi says I would gladly be a player as long as I can finally play a blind character. So playing characters with disabilities is a very, like, I've seen it happen where I played I GM'd for a person who, most of the time I find that one of two things happens. Either they don't do it justice or they instantly regret it and then try and find a way in game to go about getting rid of that particular, you know, like, drawback. It happened to me once where a player character I was working with, this is their first time at my table, and they go, hey, I've really wanted to play this character who is can't speak, and only ever, you know, they didn't used to be mute, they magically got transformed a certain way that, you know, they lost their voice, and they were just writing things down as a way of communicating with the players, and that was part of their magic. They would tear paper, they would draw symbols on paper, tear it and throw it, and that would cause the magic to appear. And I was like, you can do that, that's totally fine. I'm gonna ask you to do two things. I'm gonna ask you to, first of all, research you know, the actual, you know, capabilities of mute people. I have common sign language, so it's fine. You can sign language with people. He didn't want to do that. He just wanted to write. And then I was like, also, consider whether or not you want to be completely left out of the roleplay of this game, because you will be left out whether you want to be or not. There are just going to be scenarios where being able to communicate only through sign language in the way that you're describing it to me is not going to work well, and people will not cut you out of a conversation intentionally or maliciously, but you're gonna kind of be a side character, and I know you're friends with all these people at this group already. You're gonna want to actually roleplay with them. And he was like, no, it's fine, it's fine. Cut to like maybe 2 months later, he was like, guys, I really like roleplaying with y'all, and I wish I could do it more, and I regret being mute now. And I'm like, I fucking told you, dude. So yeah. With blind characters, I think I've seen it done in a really solid way before, where someone made their familiar constantly being they were constantly channeling their vision and hearing through their familiar. I think it was a hummingbird in Critical Role, actually, which was such a cool idea. And something like that, where it doesn't actually cause any inhibitions if done in a certain way, or it has possible advantages that kind of balance it out. So that way you're not kicking yourself down the road for making that choice. And of course, being respectful to people who actually have these certain disabilities. So you do have to do research on that front. At least for an AP, at the very least, you have to do due diligence. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. So, yeah, Malevolent Mess says Shakasta, I believe his name was. Yeah, something like that. And also, Dracodia says, I love including disability-led characters in my games, or disabled characters in my games. Like, I have an NPC that has a mimic that functions as his wheelchair. Yeah, that sort of stuff is cool. And then it comes with, like, a positive side. It comes with the very realistic, you know, interpretation of how people would find a way to continue on and not just have it be a complete detriment. Split the Party TV, hey, welcome in. Saying, how is everyone? Good to see you. I also had someone in TikTok ask, Diana, would you ever DM a Cyberpunk Red game? Probably not. I don't like DMing games that take place in like modern settings, like present day or futuristic settings. It's just not my thing. I'm way more of like a fantasy girly. Like, I think this is probably where I would draw the line. Like, this is as far as I go technology wise with guns and you know, gears and that sort of thing. Almost like steampunk is kind of where I'm at. I don't go much more beyond that just because I don't like it. I don't know. It's just never been my vibe, never been my aesthetic. Temporalis says, taking the aesthetic without telling an authentic story about that culture is kind of not cool or interesting, though. Right, so that's what I'm saying, is you have to do your research and you have to make sure that the way that you're using the character is respectful to people who actually have that disability, and not just like throwing your character in a wheelchair and calling it good. Yeah, same vibe. Pumpkin says, I hope everyone has a great rest of stream. Have to get ready for work. Yeah, of course. Have a good stream. And Chill Day says, Diana, can I get your thoughts on my BBEG? Absolutely. Also, Hustbus, hi. Saying, hi, I'm a new fan. Have you ever ran or played Descent into Avernus? And what are your thoughts on it? Ooh, I haven't run it yet. I have it. I think I started to prep it at a certain point. I think it's a very good intro adventure, but at the same time, it's so rooted in D&D lore and mythology that it's a little bit difficult to, like, the fact that Baldur's Gate just drops into the hells, that's cool. I haven't read it fully through, so I don't know how much it progresses beyond that, but I think it is a very well done module, and it gives you a good intro into D&D without making it so that you have an endless open world, right? Like, you're in the hells. You have a pretty limited space that you can traverse. But then, what was I gonna say? Chat, what was I gonna say? Read my mind. Oh, sorry, El Terrell, that's it. I'm thinking of the references. So I'm playing Curse of Strahd right now, and we came from, in that game, Baldur's Gate gets yeeted into Barovia, and so I got that mixed up with El Terrell falling into Avernus. There we go. It's titled Baldur's Gate because it's a prequel to Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah. But well, isn't it also Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus it's the lead up into, oh god, not Tyrion of Dragons, but there's another module unrelated to Baldur's Gate 3. I thought that it was related to, I don't know. All the books are way down there and I have bad eyesight. So I can't see them. But I like it. I don't like the hell machines, the war machines. That's my only thing. Yeah. Yerba Dink says, I just spent the last few minutes writing out how I'd like to do Eldritch Horror, but it'd be a wall of text that would take too much chat space, so I'll put it in the Discord if anyone's interested. That'd be cool. Yeah, I think that fills a gap that I can't fill. Also, Jax Frost over on YouTube says, I just got my tickets to Melbourne. Can't wait to see you at PAX. Yeah, hell yeah, I'll see you there. Let's see. And Martian Crossbow says, FYI, the Australian Writers Guild is doing a networking event for people in the interactive narrative, in Melbourne on the 7th. I think 7th after Dude is when I'm landing. So then I don't know if I'll have time to scoot out there. So my friends and I, people were asking, like, what exactly is your route in Australia? Yeah, I am going to be heading over there basically this weekend, actually. I think on Sunday, which means I don't land until, like, Monday. And the plan is spend basically like 17 hours straight in the air, give or take. It could be between 15 and 17, I forget. It depends on the rotation of the Earth and all that. And I'm going to be spending the entire weekend on the plane. I'm going to land, and I'm going to be in Adelaide until the 6th or 7th. After that, it's me, Kiki, James, by the way, all coming over from LA and heading over to Australia. And then we're going to meet Maddie in Adelaide. We're going to hang out with her for a little bit, her and her family. And then we're going to all head to PAX together. So all 4 of us are going to hop on a plane and then head to Melbourne. We're going to get there early so that way we can hang with our local friends. So for example, Odie and Lav from the Worlds Apart podcast, some of my D&D friends who I play my Thursday 1 in the morning game with. We're all gonna be there, and so we'll do some game nights, we'll wander around. Yeah, I like it. Franco the Guy says, I'm a DM thinking about a Curse of Strahd campaign. Is it worth it if you're not the biggest horror fan? It depends on what you are a fan of. So Curse of Strahd has a little bit of almost like, I don't want to say political strife, but a little bit of like political strife in that you have to deal with a community that is under the thumb of functionally a dictator in Barovia. And that is actually a very heavy theme in the game. It does require adjustment. There are some old racist themes that you do have to play with and kind of like switch out for more, it's an incredibly old game that has some very racist ideas that you're going to want to make sure you pinpoint and switch up or switch out before you get started on it. Beyond that, the horror itself isn't super scary. Like, it's not a scary campaign. The most scary thing in that campaign is they're like, oh, ghost children, oh, these children died forever ago. You weren't even here when it happened, but man, the ghosts are here and now they're talking to you. That's the scariest thing that happens as written. You can make it scarier if you want to, but Franco says I like Castlevania. So I don't know anything about Castlevania, but there is definitely like a very strong, these vampires have been around for forever and they're very manipulative, if that's part of it. There's also werewolf actions if you're wanting the whole Twilight, vibe. And then, yeah, beyond that, it's you can make it more supernatural horror-y. You can also lean more into the people side of it. Because there are people who are trapped there and they almost have lost all faith in, party members and adventurers over the years wandering into Barovia and trying to help them and failing. So it's an interesting socio-political dynamic as well. Mason says, I'm currently running Phandelver. Nice. And we're going to move into Descent into Avernus afterwards. Nice. Are you running the long one with the obsidian? What is it called? Oh my gosh, the new one. Because they rehashed it, right? I heard that one was really good. And I've also heard Phandelver is just the best as a starting campaign. If someone is new to DMing, I tell them to run Phandelver for their friends. So, Uncreative says the scariest part is Phantom times 5. And Uncreative says a ghost type Pokemon, basically. Yeah, it's not really scary. There's not much that's described as scary, but also D&D, for the most part, is not, it's not decent at horror in the way that, like vampires and werewolves and things like that are portrayed to be. Like, it's not, vampires aren't scary because they suck your blood. They're scary because of the humanity of it. So they do Strahd very well, but like other things, it could be worked on. I've worked on it a little bit. But yeah. Let's see. A Chill Day says, yeah, so my BBEG is an old duke who's afraid of dying because he'll miss his wife, who's an elf. He finds a dark tome that gives him the instructions to become a lich, so the campaign will focus around his desire to gain immortality through lichhood. The party will see his corruption and dark deeds throughout the land. What are your thoughts? I love the motivation. I also feel like you need to build out what will happen if his, what his wife's reaction to it is. Is he doing it on the down low, or is he being very overt about it? Is his wife just like super okay with this? Is she helping him? What are the you have to think about the fact that the party members might just target the wife instead and be like, I don't want to go up against a lich. Instead, we're going to take away his reason for being a lich, But then you make it so that he pivots slightly to making her undead and then going back to making himself undead, perhaps. Could be fun. Benjamin Marshall says, it's good to see young people like you carrying on the TTRPG hobby. Yeah, it's good to see that people on the foundations of it are still like popping in every now and then and being so positive about it. But yeah, a Chill Day says, oh, great point. Thanks. Yeah, I would also say make sure that you're like, what the exact steps of lichdom are. Maddie, hi, saying hello, soon to be huggable Diana. Maddie, we have so many Australians in chat today saying hi and telling me about all this stuff that's going on. There's a lot happening. Also, Fushigi says, I was thrown into being a DM. I didn't have training wheels. I hated it at first. I feel like as long as you play, this is a hot take, as long as you play D&D at least once, then you're pretty much okay to become a DM. You just need more time to prepare before you get used to the preparation process and all that, so. Maddie says, hello, Aussies. Hi. And Apathetic Panda says, hey, Dan, a long time no see. Hi, nice to meet you. Good to see you. But yeah, the other thing, like I was saying, if you have a campaign where the BBG is trying to become a lich, know what all of the different steps to becoming a lich are. Know that he should have his whole plan laid out, even putting it on a corkboard yourself and being like, okay, first he needs this item, he needs to go to this person, he needs mentorship from this other lich, and then he needs a phylactery, things like that. Make sure you know what the steps are. Make sure he has backup plans for those steps when the party disrupts it, and make sure the party has a way of knowing what those steps are and what his potential routes could be, so they can at some point halfway through the campaign or whatever feel like they have an advantage and try and cut him off at the pass. So oh my god, I'm gonna sneeze. No, we're good. Mentat Muse says, also after reading Van Richten's descriptions of the other domains of Dread, I kind of want to run so many of those more than Barovia. Yeah, so that's the other thing, is the other domains of Dread play on so many different parts of horror. Very specifically, like it even calls out, hey, this domain is good for body horror, this domain is good for eldritch horror, this is cosmic horror. And then you have one for basically every type of horror. So it can way more quickly and more easily suit whatever your party is seeking, vibes wise. And I liked Van Richten's. I feel like it needed more information and more, I don't know. I kind of wish there was like one of those for every of the domains of dread. But I know that's greedy. Mr. Max, thanks for the sub. Also for Studio 314, I don't know if I caught it earlier, but thank you so much for subscribing. And Arcturus says, starting with my first full campaign as a DM on Friday. Really excited but hella nervous. Oh my god, yeah, you never get used to that. It's like becoming a streamer where you're like, oh man, I have to perform now. I need to prepare, I need to do this and this and this. But once you get into the flow of it, you realize like what exactly, you know, the pace that your party members are going at and how you get to like, you start to fine tune how much you need to prepare over time and all that. So Cassie said another element is a wizard. Someone strong enough to become a lich can steamroll most parties, so you have to be careful as a player. That's true. So anything that's like, hold on, what are the actual steps to lichdom? Now I'm kind of curious. D&D lichdom. I think that someone on D&D behind the screen actually has a whole thing about it. Of course they do. The community is amazing. But yeah, it looks like someone has a whole template for how you would create a lich as well. Varying lich abilities. Let me put this in chat for you, so that way you don't have to find it yourself. But I always trust anyone on Reddit because I just assume they always know more than me. But yeah, there's different options for 5e. Is this 5e revised? Oh, weird. Yeah, so they kind of have to be powerful from the get-go. The CR is 21 for these guys. And let's see. Usually it's a wizard, could also be a sorcerer, warlock, or cleric. What if it's an archfey warlock? Wait, no, archfey warlocks gain immortality after a time, don't they? I don't know. But either way, I would kind of take a look at these, break it down into steps the way that Redditor seems to have already done, and make sure that you're building your campaign pace around those steps. I would also make it so that there is another, obviously you can't have a good lich, but maybe another lich that you know, or that the party knows that the wannabe lich is going to go consult or perhaps hunt down for some reason or another. Usually information, but maybe some of the reason down the road, so they can also go and talk to that person. Mythological Misfits, hi, welcome in! And then Hindus says, I'd also recommend checking out Witch Lich by Pointy Hat. We love Pointy Hat in this house. Oh my god. And let's see. Franco says, new DM advice, do a practice game with just you, then a game with you and one trusted person. I recommend Wolves of Welton. I've never heard of Wolves of Welton, but yeah, I do often like just go through a module myself. I did it for the campaign that I DM'd this past weekend, where I was like, okay, if I was monologuing right now, like this is the accent I'm gonna use, this is what I'm gonna say, if they do this, I'll do this, and just like walk through step by step in their shoes, you know, what you would do. It's really fast, I promise. It won't take like the entirety of a session to run through. But yeah, let's see. Mythological Misfit says, came from TikTok. Hi! And Willow King says they just smashed liches from World of Warcraft and Iron Kingdoms because both of those are terrifying. Yee. Big fan. All right. Well, I guess we have a bit of time. We have about half an hour left in the stream. Should I pop into a game? Do I have something that I can play? I've been really feeling roguelikes lately. Does anyone have any roguelike recs? I could also play Tainted Grail, like the OG Tainted Grail, not Fall of Avalon, but I don't think I have it downloaded here. But I was thinking about, oh my gosh, about Ink the other day, because I posted my third installment of my indie TTRPG showcase on YouTube. It's only available to members right now, any member, but it'll be available to the rest of you guys on Thursday or Friday, 10:30 at night, I want to say. So some nighttime watching. Especially as we approach the holiday season. And one of the TTRPGs I went over was Ink, which is a game that, am I gonna sneeze? I need my body to decide if I'm gonna sneeze or not. This is embarrassing. I think I'm good. I'm good. We're so fine. Your ex says repeat cabbage. Does that help? Also, Luke is just now sneezing. I'm so sorry, Luke. Also, Leon, hi, welcome in. And Ticking Time Bob says hello, going to the sneeze cam. Yeah, I gotta make sure that I have a close-up evidence of, oh my gosh. Also, Mr. Max says, what is the memberships on YouTube? So for those who are watching on YouTube right now, you might be able to see this if you click on my profile. For those who aren't, you can head to my link tree or just youtube.com and then find me, Diana of the Rose. Studio says, bless you just in case. I appreciate appreciate that. But yeah, there's 3 levels of membership right now. I believe it's like $3.99, $6.99, and $9.99. And the 3 levels unlock different things for you. So if you're at the first level, you get access to exclusive emotes. You get 3-day early access to long form videos. You get access to like priority responses to comments and, like a little badge next to your name. It's like the basic supporting the channel tier, and then also getting early access to long form videos. If you're on the middle level, which is called Scholar, there's Sage is the beginner, Scholar is the middle. Scholars get access to members only short form videos as well. And then I believe there's also access to like polls and things like that, sneak peeks of what's coming. I don't know, just going down and getting some ideas of what's happening with the channel down the road and helping guide our direction. And then the third one is the savior level, and that's where you get access to exclusive long forms. So long form videos that only those guys get access to. They're usually around 10 or so minutes, and you can see on YouTube where like it should say like members only as a long form video, so you can see the thumbnail, see the title, and see if that sort of stuff interests you before diving in. Mr. Max says, where's this on the YouTube app? Ooh, fuck if I know. I have no idea. I do all of my stuff on the desktop app, to be honest. So I'm not good at that. Whoops. Warlock King says, make a set of Devil Power Rangers, 1 for each layer. Dude, that'd be so funny. Oh my God. Jordan says, when new to DMing and uncomfortable with a lot, I recommend to new DMs not worrying about accents or super detailed descriptions when playing with friends. Saying that he sounds like Pedro Pascal is just as good as talking like him. She looks like the bartender on Tuesdays, but if they were a dwarf also works. I love that advice, 100%. Also, Deethan says if you're subbed to her channel, reopen the app, and then there should be another button for subscribe. Oh, I see. So like, the membership. Vault Dweller says the tiers is on YouTube or like a Patreon. Just on YouTube. I don't have a Patreon, unfortunately, but I appreciate the ask. So anyway, I was talking about in that video a game called Ink. And in Ink, it's a game where you essentially use it post TPK for any other game system, and you port your character into Ink. And once you get in, you're traveling through purgatory, but it's the only roguelike, I think it's a roguelite, technically, TTRPG that I've seen so far that genuinely looks so fun. You have your physical form, what you used to look like, and then you also have something called a shadow, and there's like 6 shadows to choose from, and that's your combat abilities while you're traversing the Ink and moving through your past memories and trying to figure out, resolving these unresolved issues and discovering more of who you were in your past life. And then and then eventually it could lead to a resurrection or something like that, especially. So it's designed almost for you to bring your character in from another game after a TPK, do a couple sessions in Ink, and then hop back into your main game after you've done some soul seeking, literally. So. Allegedly, Macy's is fully acting out an interrogation scene while speaking in a Valley Girl voice as a fun acting exercise. That would be so fun. Also, Firebird says, are you on Facebook? They keep showing me your videos, but no check mark. I post. I don't really do anything else though. It's quite literally just if it's me posting reels at the same time under the name Diana the Rose that I post my reels on other platforms, then yes, that's me. I just haven't applied for a checkmark on either Facebook or Instagram because Meta does this god-awful thing where they require you to use your full legal first and last name and have it visible on your profile, which is a massive security risk for especially women on the internet. So I haven't done that because I don't want to dox myself. So I just trust that people know who I am. Oh well. Duke says, I'm always in the camp of go with the voices of any quality without embarrassment. Shame is the death of roleplay, and if you lead with the confidence, your players will follow. It doesn't need to be an award-winning performance, just needs to be confident. Yeah, Taste the Rambo over on TikTok says, what's the topic tonight? The topic tonight is us just chatting about TTRPGs. We did a walkthrough of Strangelight Workshop, which is a new 5e compatible module in the Iron Kingdoms realm, the Iron Kingdoms TTRPG setting by Steamforge Workshop. They also gave me a Spectronomicon. Essentially, if you like supernatural investigation and being part of an agency that hunts down supernatural phenomenon, but in D&D, so you don't have to learn Candela, Call of Cthulhu, or any other system for that, it's a very solid choice. Plus, it gives you a lot of lore and new classes and things like that. So we were looking at that. After that, we talked a little bit about TTRPGs in general, about some BBEG ideas, the concept of becoming a lich, my journey to Australia that's coming up this week. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Cashcal said, I'm now a savior. The power. Ah, well done. And also Firebird says, thanks for the clarification. The page that keeps showing me links to your link tree, but the link tree doesn't have a link for Facebook. I just don't like posting. I don't like Facebook. And so I don't usually point people to it. I guess I should just to confirm that it is me, but maybe I'll add it, maybe I won't. I don't know. I just don't like, I prefer people will follow anywhere else than Facebook. Mr. Smile says, what kinds of classes? There's, so Strange Lace Workshop, like I said, it's 5e compatible, but it takes place in the Iron Kingdom setting, which is a mix of magic and technology. So it's got a couple more classes that have to do with effective gunslinging. There's like a bouncer class. There's, you know, kind of like occultist vibes, an investigator, so a lot more intelligence-based classes, protection type classes for your friends, and a one that's like almost like a magical tinkerer that uses equipment given to you by the agency and, you know, uses it in your supernatural investigation. So yeah. Mr. Smile says you had me at gunslinging. Yeah, so these classes give you proficiencies in guns, you know, some of them at least, create proficiencies in certain types of firearms and things like that. They also have their own feats, they have their own species, they have their own backgrounds. Like, they have pretty much everything. Like, you could, in theory, probably use this as a replacement for the actual D&D core rulebook if you know you're never going to use fantasy stuff and you only want this type of setting. It has everything you need except for, like, the basic rules of D&D, but that's available in the SRD anyway, so it has its own spells and whatnot. I really like it. It has a spell called Chasten, which is always fun. Firebird says, I already follow on Instagram, YouTube, that clock one that my phone won't let me spell in Discord. Yeah, TikTok. God, phones do hate spelling TikTok, don't they? And Voltor says, is there a solo D&D-like game that you would recommend? Ooh, if you're going for supernatural investigative vibes, Wraithhound is a solo journaling game that has that sort of vibe. I don't have any that have the exact combat value of D&D, I believe. Do I? You'd have to check my indie TTRPG series over on YouTube. I believe Emberwind is GM-less, but I don't know if it's a solo game, and it does enemies in a sense where it's like enemy AI, where it tells you, okay, the enemy, and again, it's analog AI, it's not actual AI. It tells you, okay, well, if you're playing with this enemy, then on its first turn, it takes this action. Second turn, it targets this person and takes this action. If someone moves within this, distance of it, then it does this. It's a lot of like if-then statements built on a hexagonal battle mat grid, hexagonal battle map, I guess, with hexagonal like bits. I always wanted to say hexagonal squares, but that's the complete opposite of a hexagon. You know what I mean? And that I think is GM-less because you especially go through, and it's a fantasy setting, and the scenarios are presented to you by reading through a couple different paragraphs, and it says, okay, like a person comes up to you, they look a little shady, here's what you investigate, here's, 3 options. What do you do? And it's got a very elaborate campaign that's really easy to learn that I really like. But again, I don't know if it's solo. I think you could possibly play it solo. I don't know. Tiles, that's it. Hexagonal hexagons, says Luke. Dethan says, you've done several solo games, but not necessarily D&D style. Yeah, I haven't talked about, it's called Emberwind. It's right over here, actually. I'll just show you guys. I just got this one at PAX West, so I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. But let me do this. This is the hero manual for it. It's described as a modular new tabletop RPG that lets players test their game experience from the ground up. You learn it in minutes. It takes co-op tactics. Let's see. Cooperative tactical combat. Epic heroes you can fully create and customize in 5 to 30 minutes. Amazing art. Definitely. There's free content online, but like your different tiers for your different classes are a thing. They have a druid tier, for example, and then it's the hero manual is what you use to create your own character, and it talks about how the foe turns work and how that like enemy AI works. This is the main book though, which actually comes with the campaigns, and the campaigns are here. Let me show you. Like this, right? Where you go through, it presents you with the scenario, you pick an option, and then it tells you, like, after you've chosen, then go to this page and read this outcome. And so it's very much like a choose your own adventure TTRPG that I really want to dive into, but I don't think it's solo, unfortunately. Mr. Max says there was also that Ohio game. Yeah, The Darkness at the Brink of Ohio. I actually got a physical copy of that at PAX West as well. The Darkness at the Brink of Ohio. Hi, Pure? PWN21, hi, hello, welcome in. It's available now. It's like a $15 game. It is a solo journaling game though, and it doesn't have fantasy aspects, and it's not a class-based game the same way that D&D is if you're looking for more D&D stuff. What it is a horror experience that comes with its own soundtrack. So you follow along, you do horror journaling in response to a bunch of prompts that is, following along with an audio prompt that is built like a radio show. So you pop in some earbuds, you set the scene, you lower the lights in your room, you sit down with a journal and with the book itself, and you follow along with the soundtrack, and it plays music, you hear a radio host talking to you, and then strange things start to happen. It does have a lot of like content warnings that come with it. I did a Let's Play of it a little while ago, back before it first came out, and yeah, it's really cool. It's like, it's pretty much Eldritch Horror, essentially, as a solo game. A Simple Bagel says, okay, normally I miss your streams, but I was able to pop in today. I want to say thank you, though, because my friends and I all want to play, but none of us have ever played. So I've been trying to learn so that I can help teach them, and your content has been helping so much. Oh my god! It's also making me feel a lot more comfortable being a DM when I've never played myself. That's amazing! Yeah, honestly, like, if you want to be more comfortable DMing and seeing how it actually works, just watching someone else play is the best thing you could do. Other than that, playing as a player maybe once is all you really need, or even just going to like an adventurers league or a little pop-up one shop at a local brewery or something like that, hopping in for one night with a pre-made character that someone else made for you or that you downloaded online, or, you know, following a tutorial for it, any of that. DVC said not spelling out PONE like it's an acronym. Oh, that was before my time, but yeah. I don't know. You don't need as much experience as you think to really hop behind the screen. So I'm glad that that's helpful too. Thank you so much for the kind words. I also have Robert Ross over on YouTube saying, hello again. Still proud of your generation's direction of D&D. I love what y'all are doing. I'm a 30-year veteran of the game. Holy shit. And I really like where it's going. I'm so glad. Oh my god. It's always so reassuring to hear someone who's been like, oh my god, I've been part of this game for, 50 years now. And I hate all these kids, turning it into away from a war game and more into like a storytelling game. And it's like, it hasn't been a war game forever. So I'm glad to hear that people are okay with the direction it's taking. I love that sort of stuff. Apollo, hello. There's also, let's see. People are talking about elves in WoW, saying, what race should I play on this World of Warcraft private server? Oh no, what are the races? WoW races. Thank God that came up with what I thought it would come up with. I just realized Googling WoW races is probably not the best. Hello, the night elves are pretty. They also have Draenei. What is a Worgen? Okay, these are pretty standard. The Steadfast Alliance is driven by tradition. They're staunch defenders of justice and duty. Ah, that sounds boring. Or for the Horde. Driven by unity, fervent by keep. Can you tell I've never played World of Warcraft, by the way? Oh, you can be undead? That sounds fun. Oh, a Blood Elf also sounds fun. There's also just Pandard and Drakthir who appear to have not chosen a side. Which is wild. Allied races. Both Alliance and Horde heroes discover new allies by exploring faraway lands. The races below need to be recruited to your faction's cause in-game before you can play them. I see. A Void Elf, a Nightborn. These just look like other versions of elves. A Lightforged Draenei, a High Mountain Tauren. So I'm guessing this is their equivalent of like tieflings and things like that. I like that. That's kind of cool. The Mechanome is a sick vibe as well. What is a Blood Elf? Oh, an invasion of the undead Scourge decimated the kingdom's population and deprived them of Sunwell's might, so they became blood elves and used demonic energies. That's kind of cool. I think you should do that. I think that sounds fun. Macy says, your content gives me so many fun little ideas. I'm totally going to steal your Admiral idea for my campaign. Please do it. Oh my gosh, 1000%. I love the Admiral so much. I really don't get a chance to like talk about. What else did I have? I had a note full of all of these like different basically joke D&D items that I was going to implement. If you guys have any too, I know there's lists floating around on the internet and on Reddit quite often, but I know that there was one that was like a, what do they call it? A wear rope, I think it was called, or a wear, oh, fuck me. But it was like a string that only turned into a usable bit of rope when it was a full moon or something like that. There was also the orb of slope detection, which if you set it down on a surface and then it rolls, that means that there's a slope there. You're welcome. Warlock King says Forsaken and Blood Elves are the best races. What is the Forsaken? Forsaken. I don't see them here. But that sounds cool. I kind of like because the thing is about D&D, or sorry, about video games that have like different factions that you can join is there's almost always one that's like, ooh, join this faction if you believe in light and justice and goodness for everyone, and you know, the holy power of the Lord, or you know, the goodness of civilization and the honor of our king, and we're very good people. And then there's the other one, which is just, hey, we're the opposite of those fuckers, but we have fun, you want to join? And that's always the one I go for. Is it's so black and white, and it's always the exact same two sides. It's like the obvious good ones whose color is blue, and then the not that. Oh goodness. Let me grab the, where the fuck are my TTRPG files? There we go. I have a notepad that just has a bunch of like bullshit D&D item ideas. Let's see, is it under homebrew? No. Dungeon Master. Celestion? Miscellaneous D&D world ideas. Here we go. A ring of attunement that requires attunement. I came up with that idea before the Artificer was a thing, in my defense. Chris says the fact that you're not even wrong. Is that actually what it is? Allegedly, Mason says the Horde versus Alliance used to be much harsher. Nowadays, you can kind of play with both sides, and the only people who still really care about what side you're on can be kind of toxic. That sounds like it has racist origins. Goodness. Franco the Guy says, for more new DM advice, learn basic dice rules and ability checks, but from there, low-level combat and village roleplay is easy. Yeah, I feel like people, at least I psych myself out about the roleplay part. The combat part's easy on me. Mr. Max says, this is why I love Skyrim, since both sides have problems, but for the Emperor. Yeah, dude, people who, I get why people would dive into Skyrim not knowing anything about Elder Scrolls lore, and then go for the side that's, you know, go with the Nords, right? If you do that, it means you don't know anything about the lore, and I'm so sorry. It does take a lot to get into, but if Skyrim went and got its independence, it would get crushed fucking instantly by any invading forces. So, and also they're racist. It's just xenophobia also, but in a different font. So I've always, ever since growing up and realizing that, I definitely went with the Imperials. Shuleo, hi, welcome in. But let's see what else. I had glasses of dark vision, which were just sunglasses, and they made everything dark. A ring of truth that periodically, with a magical voice, just stated the obvious. A bottomless tankard, which is actually just a normal-ass tankard, but the bottom is illusory, so you can just, any liquids just fall right through. Let's see. The wand of create wand. Probably abusable. I don't want to think about it. A crown of invisibility that goes invisible when worn. You don't go invisible, just the crown. A bag of holding that makes you feel hugged when you give it a hug. So it holds you. How sweet is that? Let's see. A ring of magic detection that only detects itself, or can primarily detect itself, and it only has one level of like glowingness. Unfortunately, it's always glowing. Snake oil, which is also dubbed Grease of the Serpent. I think I made a video about that. A journal that chronicles itself from its own perspective. Possibly has details of pre-party events, but for the most part, it's just stuck in someone's bag. Let's see. Armor so good at resisting sword strikes that it turns ethereal, and therefore is useless when someone actually tries to attack you. It just shwoop, goes into, doesn't take you with it. Just goes to a different plane. Yeah, the lycanthrope. Yeah, a string that only turns into rope on full moons. A ring of fire detection that only turns red when placed directly into a fire. A coin of iffy divination that is only right on yes or no questions, and it's only right 50% of the time. That's it. I also have a bunch of other miscellaneous, like, small ideas that I haven't really dove into yet. Franco the Guy says Skyrim choice becomes easy when you realize Ulfric basically executed a child. Yeah, didn't he challenge a kid to a 1v1 and shouted him to death? But the dude was like teeny tiny. I don't know. Duke says lycanthrope has a pun involved. I'm in. And Duke says a ring of thought detection allows other people to detect your thoughts. Alternatively, just confirms if thoughts are present. Yeah, exactly. And then Thomas says, what about a potion that tells you if a surface is slippery, but only when poured on it? That's a good one. A potion that tells you if something is wet, but you have to pour the potion on it first. And then if it shows up, then it's wet. It's almost like a wetness detection potion. Oh my God. Royal Darkness, welcome in. Hello, hello. Christoph says, it's a shame you couldn't side with the Forsworn in Skyrim. They had a cool aesthetic, I'll give them that. Also, Temporal says, my favorite ones are things that are useful in interesting ways after the prank. That's my thing, is if I give my party members something that could, in theory, break the game that I haven't figured out how bad it is yet, and then they figure it out and they fuck me over, I'll let them do it once. After that, they're on probation, and then also every BBEG also gets that item and uses the exact same exploit. You know, I don't take away silvery barbs or anything like that too much in the realm of things that are just in game. I make it so that, you know, if you can use it, sure, go for it. So can I. Fishigi says, wait, a crown that goes invisible but not you is an incredible troll item. It's giving like the Emperor's New Clothes, honestly. Cassie also says, what I think would be fun is instead of returning a returning hammer or axe, just have it be a rock. Yeah, I'm here for it. Why did I just get a text from Sachi that says gay? Oh, I thought she'd popped into stream at some point and was just like, queer and didn't tell me. She sent me something else. Duke says, I know my players well enough to not introduce a wetness detection potion. That's jokes for a full half session minimum. That's the best! You should do it! Oh my god, can you imagine that being as a way of hitting on another party member by just being like dabbing it on yourself and being like, hey, can you help me check if I'm wet or whatever? And then the other person just doesn't get it and is like, yeah, obviously you use the potion. The potion's junk. Fucking focus. Let's see. Allegedly, Macy says a ring of empathic projection. Oh, it's a mood ring. Oh, empathetic protection. Projection. I'm here for that. I think that'd be fun. DBC said, I like the ring, but as a stick with the toggle function. You give them effectively a flashlight, but they have to figure out if the magic item is detecting itself, and that can take a couple sessions. That'd be kind of cool. I'd be super down for that. All right, well, we're out of time. It's about 6:30, which means I've got to skedaddle. I've got some emails to send. I got some work to get back to, but I appreciate you guys all being here. Thank you so much for hanging out today. Let's see who I can raid into. For those who are here and who helped me review Strangelight, thank you all so much for helping watch and you know, weighing in as I was weighing in. Let's see. Ooh, Shadley is playing some scary games again. He's got, I love seeing his tags because it's always English, positivity, safe space, indie game. And then it's like him with a heart monitor and a purely black screen screaming. So we could go watch him. He's only been up for a couple hours. Let's see, or who else? Yeah, let's do that. It's been a hot sec. Let's go say hi to Shades. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'm gonna send you guys over to a friend of mine who is, I think, testing people for humanity? Oh god, I have no idea what this game is. I'm scared. I'll send you guys over to watch him. Bye-bye.